Hello everyone, my name is the Mr. Munch, and today I just thought I would create a quick video dissecting a ladder match I played the other day, sort of talk about my general strategy and sort of give my thought process as I'm playing the game and as it progresses, and just the things that I'm thinking about in general as I'm playing a game. So I'm a Conqueror 3 1v1 player, by no means a professional, but in relative terms, decently highly rated on the ladder. And this is a series idea that I thought I might create where I look at replays of mine, sort of analyze them, discuss my thoughts as I was playing, and then maybe there are things that you can take from my analysis, implement them into your own games, and get some more wins. So this is a game I played the other day against a content creator named Vortex Reload. I happened to run into him on the ladder, and yeah, he's a solid player, another Conqueror player, and sort of heading into the match, the matchup is English versus Japanese, and if you've seen Age of Empires or played it even a little bit, you know English's general strategy, and that is to make spearmen, make longbows, and then suffocate your opponent in Age 2 if possible. That's the sort of way it's often played. And as far as Japanese goes, I don't play them too much, but they typically, a lot of people like to go for fast castle these days. Seems to be what most people like to do. I think that's pretty difficult against English, especially if, if they're putting on early aggression. They're able to punish that pretty easily, which you'll see here. But yeah, just generally speaking, I always would encourage people to have a plan when they head into a game. In a general sense, think about how the matchup, might play out. But I always recommend to have a plan. So my plan this game was to, put on feudal pressure and sort of suffocate my opponent, right? That was the whole idea. The reason this is so good, why English is so good at this, is because they have very cheap farms, and so that means their farm transition is quite inexpensive. They also have feudal man-at-arms, which a lot of people, a lot of civilizations have a very difficult time dealing with. So if you can keep your opponent contained in their base, eventually they'll sort of starve out of resources while you have a very cheap farm transition. And if they can't, make it to castle, a lot of, civilizations, most of them have a very difficult time dealing with feudal men-at-arms, which are, food heavy. They require a little bit of gold, but overall pretty cheap. And so the longer that feudal goes on, English just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And they're a very oppressive civilization, right? Their longbows have incredible range, and if you're not careful, you'll be losing villagers left and right. So heading into the game, that's sort of my general plan, is to stay in feudal as long as possible and deny his castle age. So I'm gonna switch to my scout real quick and sort of show you what I'm looking at as the game starts to pick up. You can see my council hall is nearing completion, so I've got my scout on the other side of the map ready to check to see what he's up to, because I'm looking for a point of attack. Where can I punish him? And so if I follow my scout here, you'll see that I already scouted his gold early on. If you look at my cursor on the minimap right now, I can see his starting gold is towards the bottom right of his base. So if I look at my actual camera, you can see that I am checking his gold, and I see that he's got no villagers on gold. Right now, to me, this is a dead giveaway that he's not interested in going castle, or, fast castle. He's not going to rush castle without units. So this tells me a lot already early on. And, this is kind of how you want to think about your opponents as you play. What are they doing? Where are they gathering resources? And, just depending on the sort of spread of their workers, what is their response, or what do I think it's going to be? So I notice he's not on gold at all. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, he intends to at least some degree create units and fight me in feudal age. So that's what we're going with for now. So now we're just gonna move forward a little bit, track my scout a little bit further, and you'll see actually I know he's going units, but I decide that initially what I'd like to do is sort of rally my first longbow across the map and sort of just try to create pressure if possible. This can be a little bit dangerous in that if your opponent creates a stable and makes a horseman, then this longbow is very dead. So my initial response is to create a barracks. I'm doing this blind at the moment because oftentimes when you play against or when you're playing as the English, your opponent is going to create horsemen to try to counter your longbows. So your next step is to drop a barracks and create some spearmen to kill the horsemen. But at the moment, I don't actually know what my opponent is doing. So I'm going to go back to my scout and see what I find. So again, I saw he's no longer on gold at all. So I'm trying to figure out what he's doing. So right away, or pretty early on, I spot that he's dropping an archery range. This is, I don't know, what the best response is in this situation, but I'm just going with what I see and sort of adapting, right? So I actually, if I were smart, I probably would have canceled my barracks and sort of, because if we're playing archer versus archer, you know, spearmen are pretty useless, right? Unless he's got a stable, then any spearmen that I create are kind of just not wasted resources, but in a sense they kind of are. So I see he's dropping archery range. I decide to commit to the barracks regardless, but you'll see that I end up not making any spearmen early on. So back to my camera view, trying to again see what else he's up to. I notice he's dropped the archery range. I see he's got a few guys on stone. I see it looks like he's trying to upgrade his town center. And oh, I saw another building foundation, another archery range. So he's dropped 2 archery ranges now. So that tells me he's very committed to massing Yumi archers. And generally speaking, longbows will beat Yumi archers, right? Yumi archers are quite a bit weaker than longbows. So again, this sort of, I don't want to be building any spearmen right now. Just want to, practice only longbows for now. And so I'm keeping my scout around, trying to check if he's producing, right? Because I'm just trying to apply pressure that I can with this one longbow. Again, it's nothing much. It's sort of just, my whole game plan is to keep my opponent in feudal as long as possible and starve him out of resources. So I'm not trying to win the game here with this one longbow, but I am very much trying not to lose it as well. I'm trying to apply pressure, and when you do this with early units, it's very important to not lose your early units, because if you move out with a couple units, you get caught out and you lose them, it's a huge tempo shift, and games can change drastically in a couple seconds just because of that. So keeping my scout nearby to try and check when archers pop out and whatnot, while also sort of keeping him engaged in that he's thinking that he needs to create more units, because that's what I'm doing. So give his scout a little pop shot. Again, I'm rallying archers at home because I don't want to move out quite yet, just sort of poking, prodding, seeing what I can do. I am grabbing some upgrades there, find a sheep, and now I'm going to circle back to his gold and sort of see if I can figure out what he's doing. Actually, I'm not going to circle back to his gold. Not quite yet, at least. I want to check to see if he's building archers. So I can't tell anything from here, right? But again, the double archery, it's a dead giveaway. I see that he's pulled off stone now. I'm sort of keeping my longbow back because I don't want to lose it, potentially. And just, shooting a scout. He's checking what I'm up to. I think he might be confused because I only have one longbow here. But, I am, sort of just keeping him to his base. He's not actively scouting me, so he doesn't actually know what I'm doing. Now he probably sees, he definitely sees that I've brought 2 more, and he's keeping tabs. So now I'm headed to his gold because I'm trying to see if there's any damage that can be done over here. I saw he was again mining gold, and if you look inside his town center, that's where he's keeping his archers. And yep, I see 2 villagers on gold. He also has a tower now, so now this becomes a little bit more difficult for me to pressure, right? His farms and food is all under his town center. He also has a tower now in his gold, and so, not a lot of damage to be found at this particular moment, but I've continued making units, and, I know that eventually he's going to have to move out once he runs out of sheep, and, yeah. So I'm sort of just trying to think, a couple minutes ahead. What is it that I want to do? And that is deny him from going castle. So we're going to continue moving forward with this. And this is actually a very important point in the replay. If you notice, he's starting to charge me with his group of archers. He has 6. I have 3 longbows here. And he, with his scout, and his information that he has, feels like he can sort of, push out and punish me for overextending. Because if you look, Yumi archers have a 1.38 movement speed, and archers in general, whereas longbows have 1.12. So while longbows have, additional range on archers, they're actually quite a bit slower. So getting caught out with the longbow mass, same with Zuganu's, you can be punished, and he knows this, so he is going to press that. And so you'll see that I actually have, again, quite a bit of longbows at home, and since I know he's pushing me, I immediately start moving them forward to try and meet in the middle, because I do not want to lose these units. So I'm trying as quickly as I can to get these guys over here, and you'll see he's gained on me enough that he can actually start shooting me. And so since he's in range, as opposed to, just taking damage and running away, because he's just going to continue to shoot me as I run, since he's faster, end up turning around and, sort of trying to trade as much as I can. And we end up trading 1 for 1 in the end here. And, if I was just running, I would have lost. But now my army is sort of reconvened, and now he's pushing back because, again, in a fight, longbows will win. And so if I sort of speed up ahead here, we kind of are in a little bit of stalemate. I've left some archers in the middle. But, now, again, I'm headed back with my scout to try and see what he's up to. I want to figure out what it is that he's planning to do. See if he's still producing units. Again, now I see he's dropped a stable. So this means that it's time for me to start making spearmen, because if he starts making horsemen, then I need to counter that. So you'll see here pretty shortly that I end up starting to make a couple spearmen because I've scouted his stable now. So if I go back to caster mode real quick, you'll see I've now queued up a spearman quick. He has dropped a stable, but currently isn't making any horsemen or anything. But again, I'm just sort of adapting to what I've seen. So switching back to my camera, I'm going to push forward again, knowing that he has a stable now. But again, I see that he's got a huge mass of archers. So my game plan, as it always has been so far this game, is to keep him in feudal as long as possible. Keep him making units, because eventually he's going to run out of food under his town center, and he's going to have to move out, or he's going to have to transition to farms. But his farms are more expensive than mine, and just as the longer those resources, those extra resources that he is spending on those farms that I don't have to, or have a discount on, that's more units that I should be making. And so the longer feudal goes on, the longer I can keep extending my advantage. So I'm gonna keep pushing forward again, just to sort of keep him honest. And I know for sure I can take this fight, because if you look, I actually have +1 attack, and he also has +1 attack now. Oh, he has +1 armor. So I have +1 attack, he has +1 armor. And oh, it was the bannerman, okay. But I also am about to have +1 armor myself. But regardless, just from a numbers standpoint, this many longbows beats this many Yumi archers, just straight up. So early upgrades are important for ranged battles, and in this particular instance, I have +1 damage and he has +1 armor, so they kind of cancel. But just pushing forward, I end up picking off his scout, and again, this is huge. It may not seem like that big of a deal right now, but losing your scout, it's something like the top lip that can shift a game dramatically. Your scout is your eyes, and that's exactly what allows you to react properly to your opponent's decisions. So, especially when you're playing against English and they have, longbows with a huge amount of range, trying to track their army is very important. So now I've limited his vision dramatically, and if we look at his vision here in a moment, you'll see that he pretty much, there's not a whole lot he can see, right? This is his base. This is his circle of vision at the moment, which doesn't tell him a whole lot. He certainly has no idea what I'm up to in my base. And he's kind of forced into this position where he just has to keep making units because he just assumes probably that that's, you know, what I'm going to do, right? It's the English. So if he doesn't keep making units, then there's a good chance that he just dies, basically. So now he has no scout, minimal vision, and I can walk away from that trade and be happy. I'm starting a farm transition, cheap farm transition, because I'm running out of food under my town center, as you can see, and just sort of trying to prep myself for the long feudal game. So I'm headed back to his base, again, just trying to see if he's still making units and get an idea if he's trying to stay in feudal. And I don't know if you just saw that really quickly, but since I know he's got potentially horsemen on the field soon, I drop a quick wall, just sort of, and a tower as well, trying to keep myself safe in the chance that he decides to raid my base, and sort of punishes me for hanging out in the middle of the map. So trying to set up some defenses at home. I'm also rallying some units at home too, just in case that does happen. But again, I'm just checking to see if he's making units or I dropped any additional production, which at the moment, for at least from this side, I don't see that. So I do see his entire archer mass on the left side, so I kind of drag him away a little bit with my scout to see if I can find any damage on the right side. So I'm headed towards his gold now because I want to check to see if he's mining any, grabbing upgrades and whatnot. So he meets me here with his army. Totally expected, right? And again, I'm just prolonging feudal as long as I can, because the longer the game goes, eventually, if we keep staying in feudal, then I will win. So I see he's made another scout, and I know that he is trying to, again, figure out if I'm potentially going castle myself or going to continue to make units. So just keeping an eye on him, and I see that he is still got this big archer mass, right? And at the same time, I actually kill his scout again in the middle while he's busy looking at mine. And again, the more that he builds scouts and they die, he's without vision. He's losing 100 food every time. I've kept my scout alive this whole time. And that's something that I'm really trying to work on just as a player in general, because if you watch high-level players, keeping their scout alive and using it effectively is like massive. So that's something that if you have the APM or just in general, I would highly recommend trying to make a conscious effort to keep your scout alive as long as possible in a match, or at least always have one alive, because being able to see what your opponent's doing allows you to react in the appropriate way, and that's huge. Otherwise, you're just kind of playing a single player game, and you might meet their army in the middle and you just pray that yours is bigger, and that's not good if you want to try and play effectively. So I am again just sort of setting up myself for the long game, and because I have my scout alive, I'm able to see these two villagers building a tower. And if you look from his vision, he actually can't see this, or he couldn't see my entire army at all. So these guys are shooting from the dark, but he could not see that at all. And him putting this tower down tells me that he's probably running out of food, because he's trying to gain vision, but also likely securing his berries if possible. And that's what I want. I want him to be running out of food and applying pressure where I can. So I've moved sort of towards his gold, because his stone, whether or not he gathers stone, doesn't really matter a whole lot to me, at least at the moment. So pick off two villagers here, and that's really nice for me, right? Now at this point, I am up 3 villagers, because I killed 2, and then he also built a scout out of his town center. So It's a nice advantage for me. And if you look, you actually can see that he is thinking about Castle Age. I don't know this right now, but it looks like he's macroing towards Castle Age, and he's not making that many units anymore. So, gonna send my scout back around to check on that, to see if he's making units, while I move my army towards his gold. He's made another scout, which I think eventually I do end up picking off, but I see that there's no units coming out here, so in my head I'm thinking, okay, he's probably trying to head towards castle. If he's halted unit production, he's trying to move to castle. Yep, pick up another scout, which again is huge for me. So now I'm circling towards his gold to try and see, sort of confirm if my thought process is correct. And immediately I see 8 villagers on gold. This is like huge alarm bells in my head, right? He is looking to go to castle, and I have a couple options, of how I can deal with that. One of them being go castle myself, but I've already put myself sort of in an advantageous position in that I have a large army, I'm a couple workers ahead, and he is running out of food. So now it's just sort of kind of a time where I can sort of put my pedal to the metal and close out the game. So I end up pushing him off gold quickly. I don't know how much he has necessarily, but I know he's gathered quite a bit. He's gathered 1,000 if I click on it and check. So I know that he's getting pretty close to castle. You can see actually he just drops his landmark, but I don't know that from my vision at least. So what do I do in response? Well, I don't already have it at the moment, but you can see I immediately start researching siege engineering, because my plan is to heavily pressure this position. You actually see my vision right there. I was shift queuing a couple longbows around because I'm looking to apply pressure from multiple angles now. This little tiny group just sort of shift queued around, and I'm working on siege engineering right now, and because my goal is to push him off gold. Whether or not I'm denying his castle, I don't know at the moment, but if I can delay it, that is what I'm looking to do. So, moving forward, again, he's still got this archer mess, so I can't even though I have a bigger army, I don't want to commit too heavily. But I start dropping a ram because I'm looking to take down the tower on his gold, and then sort of tighten my grip on his base. So now I've started this sort of now I've started to add men-at-arms, which are going to absolutely mop up his archers, or just be huge damage soaks. Right, archers do very, very low damage versus these heavy melee infantry units. So now that I've sort of, this whole time I've been looking out for horsemen, haven't seen any, so I can do away with making spears. I only have 3 this whole time, just in case he made a couple, but you can see I'm now starting to rally men-at-arms across the field. I did end up at one point dropping a second archery range. This was because since he had 2, and I initially had made this barracks before I knew what his response was going to be, and didn't really use it much early on. I ended up adding in a second archer range just because I wanted to have additional archers, because longbows beat Yumi archers. So I have a ram, and if I go to my vision quick, I ended up shooting a couple of villagers on the other side. You can see it over there, but shooting a couple of villagers on the other side just to sort of draw his attention. You can see his army's actually moving away, or he's trying to figure out what to do, and he hits castle here. So there's a few things. Again, now that I know he's castle, this tells me a lot, because in order for him to go castle, that means he had to spend a lot of resources, right? Castle is 1,200 food and 600 gold, and that is a massive amount of resources to invest. That if you look at our current number of resources in our resource bank, I'm nowhere close. So this is all those resources that he spent on castle, more or less, I've been spending on units this whole time, and it shows in the numbers, right? It's 50 to 27, and Since he's castle, I can either double down and continue to make a feudal army, uh, or I could go back off and go castle myself. But English really thrives in extended feudal, so I had already created sort of an advantage. So to me, a castle was off the table unless I really need to do it. So I am pushing his gold now because just because you age up, your units don't instantly get stronger all of a sudden because you're in castle age. You can make some heavy units if you have the resources to do so, but in order for your sort of age up to be effective, you need to upgrade your units, right? Whether it be to veterancy or actually, increasing, pierce armor or pierce damage 2, or getting any of these blacksmith upgrades. That's the whole reason you're aging up, right? Is so you can increase the strength of your army. If you just age up but don't, upgrade your units, then you've got a feudal army and you spent, 2,000 resources for almost nothing. So if I can push him off the gold, and just taking a quick look at the map itself, I can see that his other golds are here and here. So since I've been pressuring the side, I can be relatively certain that he doesn't have villagers over here. And I also know that he has a gold here. It's part of the reason why I split off the longbows earlier on. So I have these longbows over here, and again, I'm relatively certain he's not getting gold, so his age up has been mostly void. So I'm gonna send my ram in, and now, he's got an army, but it doesn't really do him a whole lot of good. So pick off his priest there. I see he's dropped the Yorishiro in the barracks, but as far as I can tell, there's no units coming out of these yet, right? So not really too worried dropping additional barracks, because again, I'm just looking to keep staying in feudal and pump out more units. So I then send my ram towards his buffed up barracks, and you can see I've got my longbows patrolling his other gold just to know if he moves out. And yeah, I can just, I know he's not gathering food anywhere else right now either, so the grip is tightening. So building more rams, destroying his production, and if you look on the mini-map, actually, if you look at the mini-map, he is running across with his villagers to try and gather gold here, which I'm going to know about instantly. I can't, this isn't like, if he sends his army over here, he can kill these longbows, but I'll know that he's moved out and on this gold, right? This is just a way of me keeping an eye on where he could be gathering resources. That's something that you should be thinking about as you play the game. Where is my opponent gathering from, and how can I harass that, or make their life more difficult? So he's tried to head to this gold. I already have 3 longbows here. He's also moving out a ton of villagers to this deer because he is out of food under his town center outside of these rings of farms. And he's got his army over here because he, I think, was trying to probably secure his gold. But if I look, my vision, and yeah, he essentially just taps out because he saw my longbows on his other gold. And the game, at this point, it's not over in the sense that I haven't killed him, but he's out of places to gather gold. He's out of safe food, and at this point, like, my army is just significantly stronger than his. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Just kind of wanted to talk about the game and give my thoughts as I was going through it. Hopefully there was some information in there that was helpful for you. If you would like me to make any more videos in the future, please let me know. And also in the future, I will try to record myself actually like first person playing the game, as opposed to having to watch back on the replay, just so you can see it and sort of I'll talk about it in real time. But yeah, thanks for watching and have a good one.